All right, so just to recap the Klavanless weekend, a virulent atheist murders worshipers in a church, and the left takes to Twitter to mock prayer. A legal gunman takes down a guy with illegal guns, so the left attacks legal guns. Illegal leaks from the Mueller investigation are used by Democrat collaborator NBC to distract us from the fact that corruption in the Democrat Party is now so deep that an honest Democrat would have died of loneliness had there ever been an honest Democrat, which apparently there wasn't. And a Republican may become the governor of Blue Virginia, and the NFL, which was the hottest brand in the country about 20 minutes ago, now has ratings somewhere between women's basketball and bocce. You remember the Oscar-winning song, It's Hard Out There for a Pimp? Well, apparently it's even harder if what you're pimping is socialism. The left is going down in flames. Michael Knowles, you remember Michael Knowles, the star of Another Kingdom and also the host of some show or other I've never heard of. But Michael Knowles, the host of our own Michael Knowles show, he was at the Buckley dinner, the William F. Buckley dinner at Yale over the weekend, and he has a report at what is happening to his dear old alma mater. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is the Andrew Klavan Show.
I feel hunky-dunky, life is tickety-boo. Birds are winging, also singing hunky-dunky-doo. Ship-shape, tipsy-topsy, the world is zippity-zing. It's a wonderful day, hurrah, hooray! It makes me want to sing. Oh, hurrah, hooray! Oh, hooray, hurrah!
All right. I always hate these days when we have these terrible tragedies, not because, obviously because there has been a terrible tragedy, but also because I don't think I can add all that much to what there is to say. But I do want to talk about how it's covered and how we talk about it a little bit. But mostly, I've just been watching all weekend long. I was just watching the left is going down in flames. And because the media is left, you're not really seeing it quite as clearly as you would if we had a fair and balanced media. I know that you're all wondering, why I'm here and not at the post office. I'm glad you asked me that question. I know that's the first thing that comes into your mind. There's Klavan, why is he here and not at the post office? And the reason is I use Stamps.com, because without Stamps.com, you're going along your internet, your cyber life that the 21st century has all driven us to, the fast-moving, internet life, and suddenly you have to stop, shut your computer, get in your car, drive to the post office, wait online, and everything slows down. But with Stamps.com, you can have all the services of the U.S. Postal Service right at your fingertips in your computer. You can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail using your own computer and printer. Stamps.com just makes it easy. They'll send you a digital scale. It'll automatically calculate the exact postage, and they'll even help you decide the best class of mail based on your needs. These are all things you used to have to stand online and wait for the guy behind the counter at the post office to do, and you weren't even sure all the time he was getting it right. But with Stamps.com, it's just that easy. It just comes right out of your computer, and it's cool. It's fun to use, too. Right now, you can enjoy the Stamps.com service with a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus postage and a digital scale without long-term commitments. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Klavan. And I know you're all thinking, how many A's in Klavan? 2, Klavan. I know, it's amazing. It's very condensed. Stamps.com, enter Klavan. Stamps.com. And in my case, I'm supposed to say you'll never have to go to the post office again. In my case, I'll never have to, tell my wife to go to the post office again. Yeah, because I'm just that kind. That's the kind of skunk I am. This story out of Texas is as bad as it can possibly be. There's no way I can, on this show, do credit. It would take a minister in a church. Obviously, madman goes into a church, open fire. The death toll, I think, is up to 27 as I'm speaking. It'll probably go up. He apparently hit everybody in this tiny church in this tiny town. So, there's only like 400 people in the entire town. It looks like, his friends all say, or his friends, the people who knew him say that he was a virulent atheist who was always talking about how stupid people who believe in God are. And he was also a guy who had been cashiered out of the military for beating up his wife and child, which means that, of course, he shouldn't have had a gun in the first place. You can't get a gun if you've been convicted of domestic abuse, domestic violence. So we're talking about a guy who would have had a gun whether there were laws against guns or not. He was breaking the law. And as he came out, a plumber who lived next door, as he came out of the church, a plumber came out with a rifle and shot him. And then the guy got into his car and drove away. The shooter got into his car and drove away. The plumber then just waylaid a car that was driving by and said after that guy. And the other guy, the guy in the car, just took off after him because this is Texas. These guys don't mess around. They drove off after these guys run him down, but it looks like he killed himself in the car. That's what the sheriff was saying this morning. So obviously, again, tragedy beyond our mind's ability to comprehend, evil beyond the mind's ability to comprehend. And one of the hardest things for people to comprehend is our helplessness in the face of evil, which is true. Without God, we are completely helpless. With God, we at least have a fighting chance for the world, but never in these individual incidents. So the left goes into the leftist media first, which is just an arm of the left at this point, goes into their immediate playbook, which is it's all about the guns. And by doing that, something interesting happens. Let's look at a montage. Let's start off with a montage of them. This is number 10, I think, of the media just bringing out their playbook right away.
Richard Blumenthal, who tweeted out, "Horror, heartbreak, shame, prayers are important but insufficient. After another unspeakable tragedy, Congress must act or be complicit."
So, I mean, we're watching this slaughter in America. You know, our political leaders doing anything at all to stop it.
First, the Second Amendment in this case has nullified the right to live for many people in this church. And I think a national discussion has to happen. It's not too, you know, we constantly run away from it. But we're going to keep doing this until we have that discussion.
Since I arrived at Congress this year, I've been talking about limiting magazine capacity in guns. And this is just another incident, probably the fourth or fifth this year, that could have been, if not prevented, certainly the damage would have diminished greatly if we had just made small changes to our gun laws.
It's fundamentally a problem in America. And it's not going to fix every shooting. That's the argument they make. Well, seatbelts won't stop every car fatality either. And we can't get even the Congress to give us one sentence to say that you can't have bump stock.
So there's a guy named Chet Cannon. He runs something called the Democratic Coalition Against Trump or something like this, and he claims to be the biggest, arm of the resistance. After the New York City terrorist attack, where the Islamists ran down people in Lower Manhattan, when Trump talked about the diversity visa lottery program, this guy Scott Dworkin is the guy. I'm sorry, Chet Cannon is the guy who retweeted this. Scott Dworkin is the guy from this Democratic resistance. He said it's the morning after the NYC terrorist attack, and Trump's already politicizing it like the disgusting and deranged little boy he is. And then, of course, today, same guy, Scott Dworkin, yes, I'm going to politicize the blank out of the mass murder of 20 innocent people in Texas. Deal with it. All right, I'll deal with it. You're scum. Now you're dealt with. Thank you very much. Here's the thing. Here's the point I want to make. Because the left is obsessed with disarming individual Americans because they hate individual Americans. They want to impose on us a government that tells us what to do, what our church life should be like, what we should believe about sexuality. They want us to, the state, this whole thing about transgenderism it's not about transgenderism. I'm not going off on a tangent here. It's about making sure that you believe, just like in Orwell's 1984, that you believe that 2 and 2, it's not 4, it's not 5, it's not 2, it is what the state says it is. So the transgender thing is you believe that a man and a woman is what the state says it is. They want you to accept the idea that you don't know reality, your take on reality doesn't matter. And in order to do that, they have to take your guns away, because ultimately the point is to take everything from you, to take all your power away, all your individuality, all your freedom. And if you have guns, it's going to be a lot harder for them to do that. So that's their obsession, is taking away your guns. And because the media is leftist, the dialogue immediately goes to the topic of guns. And that puts us, those of us who believe in the Second Amendment, that puts us on the defensive. We have to say no. For instance, in this case, that guy who just said, just a little change in the laws would have changed everything, would have changed nothing, except maybe to take a gun away from the guy who shot the bad guy. So we are put in a position where we're still being drawn into their conversation. Okay, now here's my take on the Second Amendment is this. The Second Amendment is not up for negotiation because it is what protects us from the government. Okay, the government should be afraid of us. Okay, they did. I didn't hear a lot of complaints. I didn't hear the media go on and on and on when a Bernie bro shot our congressman. Rand Paul was attacked by the lunatic socialist who lived next door, broke 5 of Rand Paul's ribs. I think he's still in the hospital, or he's just been released. I want to make sure that the people who want to stop those guys, the people who want to stop the Bernie bros who want to socialize our country, the people who want to, take out Rand Paul because he is a libertarian, I want to make sure that those guys are afraid of us, of each and every one of us. And the only way to ensure that is with guns. It has nothing to do with hunting, has nothing to do with, self-protection. It has to do with the fact that we should be able to organize into a militia if ever our government goes south. God forbid that should happen. God forbid that should happen. But if it does, we should be able to have guns and defend ourselves. And every time the left says, in other countries, they don't have this problem. There are no other countries. There's only us, because we are unique. We are exceptional. We are different because, one, we're a creedal country. We live by a creed, not by our race, not by the color of our skin, not by even our religion. We live by a creed that grows out of our religion, but that is what constitutes our country. That's the first thing. So we're unique in that way. And the second thing is we govern. The creed is that we govern from the bottom down. I am supposed to have the most power. The town has the next most, the state the next, and the federal government should not have that much power. Now, of course, that has been changing since 1776 and getting worse and worse until the president of these United States actually thought he should have the power to regulate who uses the bathrooms in your school in Texas, in Nashville. He actually believed that. So we know we need the protections of the Second Amendment because we know how crazy these guys, how power crazy these guys can get. So it's not up for grabs. It's not up for negotiation. This conversation shouldn't even be happening. The minute it happens, the TV set should be turned off. That is not the question. Weirdly, because this doesn't always happen, Donald Trump got it exactly right. Donald Trump is in Japan making his Asian trip. Here was his reaction.
This isn't a guns situation. I mean, we could go into it, but it's a little bit soon to go into it. But fortunately, somebody else had a gun that was shooting in the opposite direction. Otherwise, it would have been as bad as it was. It would have been much worse. But this is a mental health problem at the highest level. It's a very, very sad event. These are great people and a very, very sad event. But that's the way I view it.
See, that is, instead of going on and defending the Second Amendment, which doesn't need defending, we can defend it when the time comes because we're armed because of the Second Amendment. But instead of defending the Second Amendment, we should actually be on TV talking about mental health, because the mental health system in this country has collapsed. It doesn't exist anymore. During the 80s, all the asylums closed. It made it impossible. The idea, I suppose, was that we were going to have the drugs we needed to control people, but almost all of these shooters are on some kind of drugs, and almost all of them are fatherless. Almost all of them have other problems. We do need a system of mental health in this country. It is really, there really is nothing to do when, heaven forfend, but if somebody you love comes to you and starts talking crazy and starts talking violent, there's not that much you can do. And there should be. You should be able to put people away. You should be able to protect them and others from themselves and from their insanity. Most mentally ill people are not dangerous, obviously, but a certain amount of them are and really need to be stopped. Now, I don't know if that would have stopped this guy. I don't know, but I'm just saying that it is true that our mental health system has collapsed, and it's been deconstructed more than collapsed. So just going on this this idea, this obsession, it's not just with disarming us, because everything the left does is about the government getting power over individuals. Let me just show you for a minute. I just have to talk about this guy. I want to make sure I get his name in here because he's such the plumber who shot this bad guy, and I'm not mentioning the name of the bad guy because screw him. But the plumber who shot him was named Stephen Wilford. And Stephen Wilford shot him. The guy got in his car, wounded, dropped his gun. The bad guy dropped his gun, got in his car, started driving away. And Wilford then waved down this guy, Johnny Langendorf. And Langendorf was like, get in the car. And they took after this guy 95 miles an hour. Here's Langendorf describing this.
He got a little bit of a jump on us. And so we were doing about 95 down 539, going around traffic and everything. And Eventually he came to kind of a slowdown, and after that we got within just a few feet of him, and then he got off the road.
How did that happen? Did you guys bump him, or did he lose control by himself?
He just lost control, and then that's whenever I put the vehicle in park, because I was still on the phone with dispatch, and the other gentleman jumped out and had his rifle drawn on him, and he didn't move after that.
So if you couldn't see him, if you're just listening to the show, he's got the whole Texas thing going on. He's got a cowboy hat. He's also got a tattoo of a steer, longhorn steer on his neck. And when I see this guy who chased after a mad dog killer at 95 miles an hour, like on the instant, right? He's driving by and he's like minding his own business, and he just suddenly goes into this. I'm thinking, what do you think our friends in the media think of this guy? What do you think our friends in the media think of this? This is the guy they hate. This is the guy, the same as with those people in Houston who were rescuing people. These are the people they despise. So let's compare this fellow, this gentleman, to our celebrities, our betters, our elites, right? Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, tweeted his condolences to the victims. Actor Will Wheaton, this is from Newsbusters, one of my favorite sites. Will Wheaton of Star Trek The Next Generation tweeted at Paul Ryan, "The murdered victims were in a church. If prayers did anything, they'd still be alive, you worthless sack of bleep." He had tweeted earlier, "Welcome to America. It has been 0 days since our last mass shooting. F the NRA." By the way, there's never been a mass shooter who belonged to the NRA, so I don't know what the NRA has to do with this. They're defending the Second Amendment. MSNBC's Joy Reid decided to mix in a theology lesson. "Enough with the thoughts and prayers already. The Bible teaches us that faith without works is dead. Do something or say nothing." Atheist Ricky Gervais threw in his 2 cents. "My thoughts and prayers are that people wake the blank up." Even pop star Katy Perry got involved, saying prayer without action is powerless. Chelsea Handler decided to blame, this is her tweet, this is amazing. "Innocent people go to church on Sunday to honor their God, and while doing so get shot and killed. What country? America. Why? Republicans." How? Where? I don't even know where that. Singer Josh Groban, "Prayers are what the victims were doing. If you respond to these attacks with prayers but no action, you are protecting the next murderer." Moby just went straight to the favorite scapegoat. "Did you hear me? Trump, Republicans, NRA, every single gun death is preventable, and every single gun death is the result of real Donald Trump." Actress Amy Brenneman tweeted, "Vote these NRA lovers out." Director Adam McKay went a bit further, claiming that the shooter must have been a member of the Republican Party. We don't know anything about that. Clearly a loon. Another part of the problem is the Republican Party doesn't view mentally ill, heavily armed white guys as dangerous. They view them as voters. Rosie O'Donnell attacked the NRA, saying, "When will we end the NRA stranglehold on Congress?" Robert, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Kroese, Kroese, who is my colleague, a fellow novelist, he tweeted, "Nice to see celebrities taking time off from raping each other to condemn prayer." Just like, that's exactly the way I thought about it. I was thinking, these guys, like every one of these people is implicated in this Hollywood mess where every single guy is chasing these women around, doing disgusting things. And it's not like, "Oh, I got drunk one day and I did this stupid thing, I'm ashamed." It's not like that. This is what they do. This is how they behave, and they're going to preach to us about, and this has been going on. There was a piece, I think it was in the Daily Mail. They ran a piece from the 1940s about Maureen O'Hara. She was one of the most beautiful and best actresses. She was a co-star of John Wayne in The Quiet Man. And this is an article from the 1940s. Irish film star Maureen O'Hara today charged Hollywood producers and directors with calling her a cold potato without sex appeal because she refuses to let them make love to her. "I am so upset with it that I'm ready to quit Hollywood," Maureen says. "It's got so bad I hate to come to work in the morning. I'm a helpless victim of a Hollywood whispering campaign because I don't let the producer and director kiss me every morning or let them paw me. They have spread word around town that I am not a woman, that I am a cold piece of marble statuary. I guess Hollywood won't consider me as anything except a cold hunk of marble until I divorce my husband, give my baby away, and get my name and photograph in all the newspapers. If that's Hollywood's idea of being a woman, I'm ready to quit now." So these people were coming on, our moral betters who are coming on have been this way forever. This is not a new thing. And these are the guys who are going to talk to us about church and what we should believe in God and how we should react to tragedy. You know, I admit that there's a certain amount of helplessness in the face of evil, and it's hard to bear, but that is why we pray. That is why we send our prayers to people, because we understand that we are helpless. But God is not. You know, that's the whole point. You know, it's just watching this, but it's only part of this larger corruption, which I'll talk about in a minute. First, we have to talk about brushing your teeth, because I'm sitting here drinking coffee, and the one thing they tell me every time you drink coffee, you have to brush your teeth, and in order to do that, you have to have a toothbrush. And it is much, much better. I have personally found, it is much, much better to use an electric toothbrush than a hand toothbrush. And, you know, electric toothbrushes are great, but every one of them is the size of a bazooka, except for Quip. Quip has this very sleek, very beautiful electric toothbrush. It is powered by batteries, so you don't have a whole gizmo that you have to use. You can take it with you anywhere you go. It's kind of like Apple had designed a toothbrush, but without a big price tag. They're not that expensive. You can take it with you when you travel easily. I can just put it right in my Dop kit, which is great because I have used the bigger ones and I can't take those with me when I travel. Just too much of a pain in the neck. And you can subscribe and receive a new brush head on a dentist-recommended 3-month plan for just $5, including free shipping. Quip toothbrushes are backed by leading dentists, and this was named as one of Time Magazine's best inventions of 2016. They won a 2016 GQ Grooming Award. They made it onto Oprah's 2017 New Year's O list, and they start at just $25. Here's what you do right now. Go to getquip.com/Klavan to get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush. If you put in KLAVAN, getquip.com/Klavan, it not only helps us, you know, when you go to these sponsors and visit these sponsors, it helps us keep our show on the air, but you can get your first refill pack free with a Quip electric toothbrush as well. That's your first refill pack free at getquip.com/Klavan, getquip.com/Klavan. Good stuff. We got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Let me tell you what you are missing. If you can come over to thedailywire.com and listen to the rest of the show, you can listen on Facebook. But if you want to watch the whole thing without being cast out into the exterior darkness where there is great wailing and gnashing of teeth, just subscribe for a lousy $10 a month, and you can watch the whole thing at thedailywire.com for a lousy $100 for the whole year. You get the Leftist Tears tumbler, which is excellent. And the conversation is coming back. Yeah. Michael Knowles. Who? Michael. I remember Michael Knowles. Yeah. Michael Knowles, who will be with us, in fact, in just a few minutes, will on Tuesday, November 14th, at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, he will be on the conversation. And this is where you send in your questions. Ben did it, I did it, and it's been really popular, and we answer all your questions. Knowles, of course, will just ramble meaning because he doesn't know anything, but that's, you know, that will be that's entertainment in and of itself. Now, anybody can watch this. It streams live on the Daily Wire website, Facebook page, and YouTube channel, and it'll be free for everyone to watch, but only subscribers can ask the questions. So subscribe today for a lousy $10 a month, and you can ask Michael questions and watch him fumble them, which on the conversation. All right, we have to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube. Come on over to thedailywire.com.